to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. I'm Steve Pannone. We're coming to you live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. And, Coach, we're going to throw a little curveball, a little different sport analogy. We're going to bring up your coordinator of video operations and administrative service in his 6th season with you, TJ Landis, otherwise known as the Drone Man.
Yeah, this is a little different. Normally we do the game recap, but we'll lead into that after we talk with TJ here. TJ, as you mentioned, has been with us for 6 years and started out as our video coordinator, which he still handles, and also oversees all of our social media platforms, at TJ Landis, Nova Football, at Nova Football, him and Janine Shaw and all those people run that program for us, and then at Nova Football Recruiting. So those are 3 sites that we throw a lot of material out there with, and TJ runs that for us. And this is right on the heels of Mike Jensen doing an article in the Inquirer about us using a drone at practice and so on. So, TJ, great to have you here, first of all. Appreciate you coming out. I know you have a lot more work to do on a Tuesday evening than, being here on our talk show, but we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Why don't you talk to everybody, first of all, about, how we came about using the drone?
Yeah, the drone, probably about 2 years ago, ironically enough, at Ursinus College, we had a volunteer, Matt Giampa, who was with us. And he came in and he was like, hey, at Ursinus, we filmed parts of practice with the drone. And I was kind of shocked. I hadn't seen that used in college football too often. So I said, hey, can you get me some shots so I can kind of get back to coach and maybe put a proposal together? And sure enough, he got me some footage from Ursinus practice, and it really was just an awesome shot. And I came to coach with it. And I think at first he was a little skeptical of it, but he was like, all right, I can get behind this, and we got it. And once we started filming team periods, special teams, he's like, all the coaches said, we're just going to film everything with it. So it's been an awesome addition, and I do think gives us a bit of an advantage every day out there on the practice field.
Yeah, so just so everyone here who's in attendance tonight and those listening at home, you have an end zone shot, which is up in the press box, and that's a wide-angle shot, and it's from the side of the formation because it's in the press box on the side of the field. And then we have to rent those high lifts to have the end zone shot to see everything from behind the offense or behind the defense. And we used to tell our guys all the time, the eye in the sky doesn't lie. We're going to see your hand placement. We're going to see your foot, how your steps and how you're stepping and so on. And we're going to see guys that are hustling. We're going to see guys that are loafing because, we would have an intercut film of practice and games. Well, now it literally is an eye in the sky because the drone's flying up there. TJ's on the ground. We don't have to rent the lifts anymore. Yep. So the drone kind of pays for itself probably in a year or two's time at minimum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everyone thinks, they're so expensive. Yeah. But as far as what you rent the high lift from August preseason camp all the way to the end of the season. So whatever that charge is monthly, it pays for the drone.
And also a safety issue. Remember the tragedy that happened out at Notre Dame when you get weather and wind and rain, those kind of things. Now you don't have to have a student manager or one of your GAs up on a lift. So obviously from a safety perspective, it also adds a lot.
No doubt. And, and it's ironic because sometimes our practice views are better than the game views because you can move that thing around, where when you have a stationary camera in the back of an end zone, depending on the height of it, how far it is from the field and so on, it's depending on what stadium you're playing at, sometimes it's a really good shot and sometimes it's an okay shot. Now we get whatever shot we want.
And TJ, here's for a guy who can't turn on a computer, how hard is it to work this thing? Like how are you able to move it from drill to drill to different locations? Hey, coach wants this view. Position coach may want that view for a certain drill. Is it I've seen you on the field kind of with your handheld control. Is it something? How long did it take you to kind of master it?
It is a little bit easier than it looks because I know some people. I get that question a lot, and people come up to me and they're like, "How are you flying that?" And, it really, you just kind of hook up your phone to an app, and really, I just kind of plan out practice. We have 5-minute periods, and I work with the coaches every night before. All right, are we moving from team tempo to maybe a special teams period, and then I got to plan out where I'm flying the drone next to get the best shot. But I'd say probably after about a month or two, I got very comfortable with it, and I guess you could say a pretty good flyer.
And you have to be a certified pilot You have to get certification and so on, and he has all that. We now have 2 drones, because the thing we got to do, and I don't want to give anybody out there my idea, because the battery life isn't as long as the practice time. So sometimes we have to structure it where he can bring it down to replace a battery.
Need a pit crew. Get it done in 5 minutes in between your segments.
So I want to come up with TJ a longer life battery that you can just have it the whole time. And I don't know if that's going to be possible or not, but
I'm all on board.
I just let the cat out of the bag with your idea.
You guys will make your millions there. We'll never see you again, right?
Yeah. Shark Tank, here we come. But anyway, so TJ, we still have sideline filmers.
Yes.
And we still have guys. We have multiple sites, as I said, that TJ helps operate, but he can't do it all himself, So we have at TJ Landis, Nova FB Football, at Nova Football, which we have a lot of people handling that site, and then we have at Nova Football Recruiting, or FB Recruiting, And why don't you talk to everybody about who your support staff is?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't handle all that and getting the stuff out that we want to recruits, to fans, without my team, which consists of some of our students who have been with me for 3 or 4 years. So I have to give those guys a shout out to Travis Nix, Blake Leonard, and Matt Grasso. They'd probably be upset with me if I didn't. And those guys, people don't realize that they're students here at Villanova, but they're also up with the team, coming in at 7:30 in the morning, maybe on those November, cold mornings, and they're putting in the hours, putting in the work as well. And those guys do a great job for me. And then also with me putting in, the same amount of hours that we do as a staff are our volunteers, Nolan Mert and Mike Serino. And those guys have been awesome. And they help me get stuff out on Twitter, that you guys are seeing, different videos, different pictures at practice. And our goal is just to keep all the recruits, all the parents, the alumni, fans engaged through that, and I can't do my job without them, so I want to give them a shout out for sure.
So Nolan played at Ursinus, another Ursinus connection. He was the valedictorian at Ursinus as a football player, and now he's working with us and trying to get into football operations, player development. I don't think he wants to get on the coaching side of things, but he wants to get into development.
He's a really bright kid.
Really bright. Well, I don't know how bright is he to graduate Ursinus valedictorian and then come and work for us as a volunteer.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So, but he's getting great experience. Approximately, I'm going to ask you because I have no idea the answer to this question. Nolan's out there with a really nice camera during practice, and we probably put something out every day after practice, and when I say we put something out, sometimes there's multiple things, but sometimes it's just a 4-picture collage of certain things in practice that day. How many pictures does he take, and how many pictures does he look at post-practice to put the presentation together that we shoot out there once a day?
Yeah, once a day he probably takes over 200 to 300 pictures. Wow. and he just goes in there and we go into each day with a goal and say, what are we going to put out today? And for example, today it was like, let's focus on the guys in the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line, some of those guys that don't always get the love they deserve. And so he kind of focused in on them, and we just try and pick a new goal each day and kind of highlight the players and everything like that.
Coach, we'll take a quick break. I want to, when TJ comes back for the next I want to talk a little about the recruiting piece and how that's changed from when you started coaching and how it is now in terms of social media, which wasn't a part of your earlier career. So we'll take a quick break. We are live from the Inn at Villanova University, located here at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste in only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We'll be back on 610 ESPN right after this. back to the Inn at Villanova University. We're live talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're also joined by TJ Landis, coordinator of video operations and administrative services in his sixth season. And Coach, before we went to the break, I wanted to mention to TJ, talk about the pieces I see being on Twitter is found is a lot of the recruiting stuff. When you first started 30 years ago, the first contact you might have had with people was a film. Now they get to see you guys before you get to see them. And I guess, TJ, what is not the preparation, but what is your approach to how do I get these kids' attention? You know, you got some 10th, 11th graders out there that you guys want to attract to your program. What are you trying to put out there that hopefully catches their eye?
Yeah. Looking at that, I've definitely from the beginning have done some research. You know, some FBS schools. Hey, what do these teams do well? What do I like from there, and how can we relate that back to Villanova? And when I'm trying to put content out there, it's, you know, how are people going to see that V, that brand? And I want that to kind of pop out to recruits. And I want them to see, you know, that, you know, college football is a serious deal, but we're also like to have a lot of fun with it. And I like highlighting our players and everything like that. And I think that catches recruits' eye. Like, you know, sometimes with different videos we put out there, you know, even if it's guys dancing and having fun, I think, you know, high school kids, young kids like that can relate.
And you see, you know, high school age student athletes and even college age student athletes, whenever they're walking anywhere, they're not watching where they're going. They're looking at their phone.
No doubt.
And so any content we get out, and I think TJ and his group of guys put out a tremendous amount of stuff. And I've had people tell us, you know, hey, you guys do a great job, even though we're, you know, living out in California or we don't get back to campus that often. We feel like we can follow and we kind of know what's going on because you guys do a great job. And as I said, those 3 different websites, one is more geared toward recruiting just to hit the high school age guys. And then, you know, TJ stuff is kind of all-encompassing, as is Nova football all-encompassing about what we're doing currently and those type of things. So we put out quite a bit of content, and TJ and his group, they do a phenomenal job, along with Dean and Janine and all the other people that help monitor the Nova football site.
TJ, let me ask you, like you talk about, like this year's kind of motto has been 88 strong. You know, you have 88 members of your team. Everyone's together and connected. And I guess what comes first, the theme? Does the 88 strong come first, or just some of your stuff you've seen, the togetherness of your group, and how did you come up with, let's say, the 88 strong, and then how do you portray it in video?
Yeah, that's a good question. The 88 strong, like just going back, I mean, we're all here at the end of the day because of the players. And, you know, those guys came up with that in the summer, putting in the hard work. And, you know, once we got to a finalized roster of 88, so kind of whatever their theme is, you know, from our program, inside the locker room, that's what I want to get out, because that's really what's going on. And our guys have bought into that 88 strong. So however we can then, you know, portray that, whether it's in a video or even, you know, just in a hashtag for other recruits to see.
And I saw you guys in the Wildcat Walk on Saturday, all in your white T-shirts with your 88 strong. So I'll address this to Coach a little bit. You know, I guess most teams try to come up with a catchy slogan to start your year, but this one really is really grabbed a hold I think the people on the outside have come to me, boy, those guys really look like they get along really well. They want to play for each other. Your thoughts on that, Coach?
Yeah, well, so we have some cultural things that tap the rock. You know, that's been going on since 2009. So that's something that's every year, you know, and that's staying true. You just said play for each other. We have a bracelet for play for each other. Attitude, effort, attention to details. The AD came from our strength room, you know, so that's Tucker's thing. And the camaraderie thing, the chemistry, the getting closer together came from just talking with the guys. So after the last couple seasons, after the fall, I talk with each player individually. After the spring practice, I talk with each player individually. And one of the common themes that came up, and it wasn't the only thing, was we just need to grow a tighter bond. And they did, and that kind of evolved to, there's 88 of us. We're stronger together. Kind of Villanova's, each one strengthens all of us. And, you know, and it's kind of stuck. And the T-shirts were ordered for this week's game, and we wore them through the walk, and that's going to be their pre-game walkthrough. You know how players go out on their own before they go out in their groups when we're full pads. Players, when you first get to the stadium, usually get to the stadium, whether it's home or away, about 2 hours before the game. Some guys go out there earlier than others, and that's going to be like their pregame warm-up shirt. And it's something that they've definitely bought into, and the captain's brought it to me. And so now we're 88 strong for this season. You always get a seasonal theme along with the programmatic themes.
And TJ, one of the things I know, football coaches are creatures of habit, so to speak. Like on game days we do this, Sundays we do this. Do you have your plan like that? Like, I want this out post game Saturday night. I want Sunday to be this to be on Monday, or is it more like, hey, we just shot some great footage of practice that's going to run out there? How do you plan your week in terms of what you want out on your different sites and say, hey, Tuesday's my recruiting day and I hit that really hard? How do you break down your week?
Yeah, so I definitely, go in with a game plan, and all the guys in my office know what that is each week. And it's, after a game, we're going to try and get all the footage, get it in, and try and get a recap of the video out, midweek, something like that. A big part of my job is also putting together the hype video for our guys on Friday night that we might show either for a home game in our team room or at the hotel. And our guys have really bought into that and got really excited. So that's something I work on periodically throughout the week. I definitely on Thursday kind of dedicate that time to recruiting. I see that and like, all right, who's our top quarterback prospect? Who's he playing this week? Let me see if I can make a graphic and shoot that out to him to give those guys some love as well.
Good luck graphics to the high school guys. Okay. Guys that have either verbally committed to us or guys that have, we're tracking pretty closely and all that stuff. So you're allowed to send, hey, good luck from Villanova football. And you see players post that stuff all the time. And, they like getting that stuff. And, they're the ones that we can't post anything like that, but they can. And it works out well. So TJ, that's why we kind of went first with TJ tonight as opposed to the main recap. He's got hype video stuff to work on. You know what I mean? So he's got to get back there and get rolling. And, the first thing, he's got all the coaches. So we have Tuesday morning practice, Wednesday, Thursday. So the first thing he's got to do is get that practice film together because they want to watch it sooner rather than later. So when we come off the field, it's an hour after maybe?
Yeah, I'm hoping 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, TJ, we appreciate your time since you're such a busy man, and we know that we appreciate all the work you're doing for the program. We appreciate taking some time out and joining us today. We're going to take a quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Live from the Inn in Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, before we get to the main game, you want to talk a little bit about how video was kind of done in the old days leading up to this new social media age.
Yeah, you know, now we got TJ, the drone man, and everything's pumped out through your phones and all that stuff. But before that, Paul Koba, okay, his son Andy played for us, and Paul's in attendance tonight. And Paul used to come, and he did a remarkable job. And this is how, you know, back when Paul was involved with our program, we had a lot of players from California, and their parents couldn't get to games and so on. So Paul would video the games, transport that to DVDs, put Ryan Fannon's and Joe Eichhorn's sound to it, you know, so you got your radio announcer with Paul's a homemade video job, which was awesome. He got up in the press box and filmed a wide-angle film and so on, and then was able to get that, you know, had to mail that out. I mean, make copies, mail it out, send paperwork. Now it's the phone, and, you know, it's all like that. So Paul did a phenomenal job, years and years with our program, and, you know, now I guess he would be a.k.a. the DVD man as opposed to the drone man. But, Paul, we appreciate everything you did for our program, obviously, all those years. And I know the parents specifically, when they couldn't get to come and see their sons play on a regular basis, really appreciated that benefit. So thanks so much for that.
Coach, moving to Saturday, you know, you get a top 15 team from Maine coming into Villanova Stadium, coming off your big win over a top 5 team in Towson on the road, and you guys jump out to a big lead. You get, you know, 16-0 at the end of the first quarter, 30-3 at the end of the second quarter. Just a really good performance. Let's start in that first quarter. I always talk about, you know, Maine wins the toss. I think more coaches are now deferring, but if you defer, you really got to get a stop that first drive, and you guys be able to go down and get a 7-point score.
Yeah, because talking pregame before we come out, if we won the toss, we were going to defer, and, you know, so put the put our defense on the field, and you know, to everyone's credit, they kicked off. We had it at our 20. 80-yard drive. I think we used almost 4 minutes of the clock, and, you know, had some really nice conversions, and, you know, scored on the opening drive. So we go up 7-0, and then Maine was driving the ball. I think they had a 9-play drive for over 4 minutes, kind of stalled right around midfield, you know, so they weren't using a lot of yardage, but they were using a lot of plays and a lot of clock. And then we stopped them, and they punted to us, so we had another 80-yard field, and they took a chance and blitzed us. And Danny hit Shenga Hodge on a 77-yard touchdown play on our second play. So a quick score, a big play. And then after that, we had a blocked punt, which gave us a really short field that set up that field goal to make it 16-0. We had an interception by Elijah Trent, which gave us another short field, which led to a touchdown, which helped us get to that 23. Then we put together another nice drive, and then they got their field goal right before the half. So going into halftime 30-3 and jumping out that quick, partly because of some drives, partly because of a quick strike, and partly because of a great field position, you know, we were able to get on the board, and 30-3 was a great halftime, you know, lead for us.
Yeah, and going back to the Hodge play, when I was calling on Flow Sports, there's just no safety there. You see Hodge come from the slot, and Danny Smith hits him, and then, now is that something, is that called? You just caught him in a bad defense? Is that something that Daniel saw in their formation and says, let's go to something else? Or he's reading a safety, he sees him here, I got to go to the slot with that ball?
You know, Chris, it was Coach Bowden. He made the call. It was a great call. They rolled coverage. They were blitzing, so the safety rolled away from Shenga. Shenga actually came out slowly pretending to block, so we had a bubble behind it. So the corner kind of jumped up a little bit, and then Shenga went by him, and that's how he got behind.
And you see on the replay, too, you see Smith's eyes go to the right. He pulls that safety with him enough, 2-3 steps, and then he hits him right in stride, and it's open field from there.
It's a foot race, and it worked out really well. So we kind of split the safety in the corner, and it was a great play. It was a great call by Chris, and, you know, obviously executed well, which is always the key.
And I always get, you know, coaches always get asked when the team's down at halftime, and they come back and play well, and they say, what'd you tell them at halftime? Now you got a 30-3 lead, which is a little different than say you're down 17-7 or something. What do you tell a team when you have a 30-3 lead at halftime? Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, yeah. I mean, each team's going to go in and make some adjustments. And, you know, Maine's going to go and make adjustments. And to their credit, they came out and took the opening drive of the second half and scored and made it 30-10. So, and they had some other opportunities, you know, when you watch the film where it could have gotten closer than it did. We had that interception in the end zone. It was still 30-10 at the time. One of the receivers missed a pass. It could have been 30-17 in the third quarter as opposed to the fourth quarter. And then we had the interception by Darius Pickett in the end zone, which kind of stopped that drive. So, there was a lot of, missed opportunities for them where it could have gotten closer earlier, and then they start getting momentum and confidence, and we drove down, and the field goal, we only scored 3 in the second half. We had the ball at the 7-yard line. You want to come away with a touchdown there, but we did drive the ball to get down to the 7-yard line, used up a good portion of the clock, and came away with the 3 points, so that was positive. But at halftime, it's the CAA. I tell them all the time, it's never over until we get to the end of 4 quarters. It's not a 2-quarter game. So basically at halftime, I told the guys, yes, try to keep doing what we're doing, continue to execute on a consistent level. Let's continue to minimize our mistakes. When you look at the final game, we were able to obtain 3 turnovers. We didn't have any. We had 4 penalties, none on offense. They had 8. And we didn't get sacked at all. So we had 0 offensive penalties, 0 sacks, and 0 turnovers. And they had 3 turnovers. We only got to their quarterback 1 time, but it was a big fourth down play. And they had more penalties with it. So if you can play a cleaner game, execute consistently, and win the turnover battle, you have a shot.
And the kind of a key component going into that game, we talked about special teams. Ernest Edwards for them had run 2 kicks back against Colgate the week before, and obviously an explosive player. You kind of just see him out in the field. He just seems to always make guys miss. He's getting extra yardage. You guys come up with a block punt in the special teams game and really win that battle, which is so important, especially in the CAA. If you're playing 2 well-balanced teams like you and Maine are, that could be the difference in the game.
No doubt, and he still got his yards. He had 1 kickoff return that got out to the 50-yard line, close to it. Nate Fondacaro, our kicker, had to make that tackle, and then we had him stopped in the backfield. I swear I thought it was going to be a 2-yard loss and then being a 10-yard gain. He kind of contorted his body and spun out of this one and then made a move there. So and they actually had more yards. I think it was 10 more yards than we had total. Like I said, we had those short fields, so you're not going to get a lot of yards. I'd rather get the points than the yards. And we were able to get that because of the short fields and so on. But they threw 50-plus passes and only called 20 or so runs, and our defense held this is the 4th out of 5 games we held our opponent under 100 yards rushing. So they became one-dimensional, and now you got to defend the pass, and they got yards, but they didn't get points. And like I said, I'd rather lose the yardage game than the point game for sure.
And you talk about trying to make teams one-dimensional. Well, one way to do that is to stuff their run and give them 2 yards per carry, and the other way is to put up 30 points in the first half. And when you got a 27-point lead at halftime, that kind of eliminates the run from their offense for the most part, and you guys were able to do a quality job of just kind of dialing up that blitz, getting the turnover, making enough plays defensively to keep them. They get the late score to make it 33-17. So, Coach, you go to 2-0 in the CAA, and we'll talk about your the William & Mary game coming up this weekend. But obviously, after 5 games, you're off to a great start. I don't want to say what surprises you, I guess, because you work at these things, so you don't want to be surprised, but. The overall consistency of your team at a level after 5 games you have to be pleased with, I would think?
Yeah, it's been great. We've been able to, on offense, have a great balance. I think we've run for over 200 yards each game. Justin Covington, our senior running back captain, has gained over 100 yards in all 5 games. So he's done a great job there. And then we've been able to throw the ball. And Dan, I don't know, I think going into the game, he had the most touchdown passes in our league. He doesn't have the most yards, but he had the most touchdown passes in the league. I think he still does. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at that. I don't look at the stats that closely, to be honest with you. But the balance on offense has been awesome, so I'm hoping that can continue. The opportunistic defense, if we can get 3 turnovers this week coming up and not have any, that would be a huge positive, and our defense has made some big plays from that perspective. And this past week, we went into it with more of that, I guess, bend but not break. We probably blitzed less this game than any other game. We had only the 3-man rush, so Ferguson was able to sit back there, and that's where kind of some of his yards came from. We didn't put a lot of pressure on him when we did send a lot of guys is when we got that sack by Drew Wiley. So that was a big fourth down stop, as you mentioned, when we did kind of bring the pressure. But, I'm thinking this week we probably go in a little more, less pressure again because we have a quarterback that can run the ball pretty well coming up in William Mary. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But with only rushing 3 and having 8 in coverage, you want to make sure you do a good job there, and we kept them out of the end zone. So our defense is even though they gave up some yards in the pass game, they are very efficient in the red zone.
Yep.
We haven't given up a ton of points. Between the 20s, guys have been moving the ball, especially in the pass game, and we've been very good against the run. So we want to continue the run-stopping defense, get the turnovers, opportunistic defense, and balanced offensive attack, and win the turnover battle. That's always important.
Yeah. So the Wildcats improved to 5-0, 2-0 in the CAA. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be joined by Colin Gamroth, your junior offensive lineman, your starting center. So obviously a bright guy calling all the things on the offensive line. He's going to join us after this quick break. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. Talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're also joined by junior center Colin Gamroth. Colin's a 6'4", 285-pound young man from Mercer Island, Washington, Seattle Prep. That's a long way from home, Colin.
Yeah.
Coach, that's a pretty good recruit from all the way out there.
And this is really timely, and I'm going to let Colin tell his story here in a minute, but it's real timely to have him on tonight, and here's why. I don't know how many people out there have heard of Brandon Burlsworth. He's a FBS offensive lineman from Arkansas in the mid-'90s, and he was a walk-on. He went to high school at Harrison High School in Arkansas. And the only reason I know most of this is because it is an FBS story, but I saw it on College Game Day this past weekend, and so I looked it up, and it was really intriguing. And Brandon Burlsworth was a high school player at Harrison, Arkansas, and he loved Arkansas. He had some smaller Division 1 AA, FCS Division 2 offers, but he loved Arkansas, and he wanted to go to Arkansas. So he started his career as a walk-on at Arkansas, okay? And then he just busted his butt for freshman year, redshirt freshman year, and then became a starter, then became an All-American, then became a third-round draft pick by the Colts. And unfortunately, the story ends tragically. 11 days after he was drafted by the Colts, he got in a fatal car accident. And there's now a Burlsworth Foundation, his brother, his family, in 2010. They give out multiple high school awards, and if you ever look it up, you'll see it's a tremendous situation. But starting in 2010, they now give an award out with a banquet to the most outstanding FBS player, Division I player, who started his career as a walk-on. Okay, and Colin started his career with us as a walk-on. And I just wanted to reference that story because Matt McGloin from Penn State won the award. Baker Mayfield won it twice because he started as a walk-on. Hunter Renfro won it from Clemson. Yep. And, we don't have an award like that in FCS and all that, but I just thought it was so timely to have Colin on as our guest, as a guy who came from Seattle, Washington, and came in here, and again, we're going to get to his story. I want him to start talking. I'm talking too much, but he came here from Seattle as a walk-on, and then last year, due to some injury, was forced into action as a redshirt freshman / sophomore in the classroom, and ended up finishing the year as a starter. We go through spring practice, finish spring practice as a starter. Colin and I had a conversation prior to this season, and I said, hey, you played half the year last year. You came in as a walk-on. We're going to award you half scholarship for what you did last year, and we'll see how it goes moving forward. And he's now earned his starting stripes again. He's been our starting center for the 5 games this year. So as of 2 weeks ago, maybe,
something like that,
we had a conversation. He's now a full scholarship player at Villanova University, and started his career as a walk-on. So, Colin, why don't you share with everybody why Villanova from Seattle? Why don't you share with everybody what you were coming in here as a freshman? We hear 6'4", 285. That wasn't the case when you started. And why don't you just go ahead and tell your story, because I'm sure everyone's going to be intrigued by it.
Yeah, so my senior year, I played football throughout high school, and I thought at the end of my senior year I was kind of planning on being just done with football. I liked it, but I just never saw myself playing in college. And then the season ended, and my coaches told me you should reach out to schools. And I actually got a preferred walk-on at Cal Poly. But at the time, I just thought I was going to be done with football. It was kind of my plan my whole life, I guess, to just play through high school. So I never got back to them. Came to the spring, applied to Villanova just as a normal student, kind of randomly, just kind of threw it in there. And they came to the spring, and everyone, they're gearing up for spring ball at my high school. And I was like, I'd like to play football too. I'm kind of miss out on this in college. But now, gone back from the schools, Cal Poly didn't get into it because I didn't reach out to them about the football. So the only school that I really had that had football that I could play at at an FCS level was Villanova. So it was between Santa Clara and Villanova. Santa Clara doesn't have a football team, and I flew out here to visit just as a student. Walked in.
When was that?
My senior year, spring, April.
April
April
okay.
of senior year.
I remember it was in the spring.
I remember walking by, there was a security guard, and where's the football offices? And he kind of pointed me in the direction. Walk in there. No one's in there. I found out later. I guess that's when you guys do the spring recruits. It was probably done with spring ball. You guys were out recruiting.
Right.
So my dad actually, I think, called you and ended up setting up a tour the next day with Coach Pagan, the wide receivers coach. So the next day, come in there, and he was new. It was his first spring. Gives me a tour of the facilities, and it was really nice facilities. Obviously, it was a brand new Tally Center.
Right.
So then we fly home, and I was like, okay, I definitely this is a good opportunity. If I could play here, I'd love to come here. So I sent the film to you.
I didn't respond.
May have had to send it twice. That's a possibility for sure. And then basically Friday, maybe late April, I think you emailed back and said let's call on Monday and talk.
Right.
And that Monday was May 1st was the deadline. I had to decide where I wanted to go to school. There's a date eventually for normal students. And it was between, I was kind of leaning a little towards Santa Clara if I was just going to be a student because it was closer. But I was like, if football's here, then it's a no-brainer. So I called you Monday, and you were like, yeah, you can come play football. I was like, okay, I'm there.
Right. So, first of all, as far as email film that comes in to myself or really anybody on our staff, you almost can't watch it all. There's just so much stuff. And when I get an email from an outlying area like Seattle, I'm going to send it to the coach that is responsible for Seattle, and we don't recruit actively in Seattle. So, it's hard to connect the dots sometimes. So his persistence, Colin's persistence and his family's persistence was greatly appreciated. And to be honest with you, for someone that far away, that's kind of part of the evaluation on our end. How bad does a guy really want to be here? Yeah. And then from a walk-on perspective, admission-wise, we only get 5 slots. And, we handle those 5 slots seriously. They're kind of preferred walk-ons. And, offensive linemen are hard to come by, and for us to be able to get Colin in on that area, under those circumstances, worked out great. And when you graduated high school and then reported here, what did you weigh?
Yeah, so my senior year of high school was 255. But I lost all the weight because I wasn't planning on playing football. So I was 215 in the spring probably when I walked in here. And then when I showed up first day at campus was 235. Right. And everyone else is, 280, 290, 300.
Now we'll talk about Colin's journey. We talked about his journey getting here, and then we're going to talk about what he's done since he's been here after this quick break. We'll come back with Colin after this. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste in only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. Football head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. We're joined by junior offensive lineman Colin Gamroth. And, Coach, we've kind of done Colin's journey to get here. Let's talk about when he came in a little bit lighter and what he's done to get himself big and strong to take on all these CAA defensive linemen.
Right. Well, I'll let Colin talk about that and the work he's done with Tucker, our strength coach, and obviously Coach Devine getting him prepared because, when you talk about the center position, it's the quarterback of the O-line, and he makes all the calls. And, I know Coach Devine trusts him to make all those calls. So why don't you talk to everybody because everyone probably thinks you just ate a lot.
And Colin, were you a center in high school? Or did you play?
I played mainly tackle and a little bit of guard, but I played center like freshman year in like Pee Wee football, so I always knew it was something I could play. But yeah, for the main thing for me, like once I got here, The stuff on the field was important, but obviously the weight room was number one priority because you're not going to play at 235. So yeah, I was going in, Coach Tucker in the weight room, and then eating like weight gain shakes and not just eating everything you can find, but eating healthy, because the big thing that was really stressed by Coach Tucker and Coach Devine is not just putting on weight, but putting on that good weight, like muscle, because otherwise you're not going to be able to move well. So that was the main thing in the weight room, and then on the field it was just kind of freshman, sophomore year, scout team, and then like paying attention in meetings, and Coach Devine, coaching me up and slowly working on getting that technique there to whenever that like weight was there, that technique and the physicality that would also be there.
And Colin's a real smart guy because he has played a little bit of guard, and Paul Gratton was our center at one point, and then we kind of flipped them around a little bit, and Paul's able now it's the starting guard.
Paul told us last week how happy he is at guard, so he's really appreciative of Colin's play, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, no doubt, because he didn't want to do all that thinking. He wants to just fire off the ball and block the guy in front of him or get up to linebacker level. So he's glad you're doing all the calls now.
Yeah, I heard that. I mean, it's nice to have him. If I ever have a question on technique on this player, that since he did it all of last year, he's always there. I can ask him a question and figure something out and shoot something with him.
So from 235 first year to last year, what'd you get up to?
Probably 265.
Yeah, and now?
288, 290, yeah.
There you go. So, but good weight.
He gains weight like I do.
I wouldn't guess he's 290 though. You know what I mean?
No, he looks great. And we talked about that last week. That these guys, you walk around weighing 290, and you think like they got to have this 46-inch waist. These kids are in great shape physically. They're big, strong young men, obviously. But
right.
No, we talked about there's not a lot of sloppy guys on your roster. They're all big, strong kids that have worked very hard. And Colin talking about eating the right way. There's you can go to Burger King and eat way too many Whoppers, or you can do the right way and eat the right foods and work on the weight room. And obviously Colin's done a great job of that.
Well, we're fortunate enough to have we practice in the mornings, as I've said multiple times on the show now, and we're fortunate enough to have breakfast delivered to us, and you can kind of control the selections there a little bit. They're on their own for lunch, so they go to certain dining halls and dining facilities throughout campus, and Coach Tuck and them can't be with them 24/7, so it's more of a education and hope they make the right decisions. But
part of growing up, right? Self-discipline.
We know how that is, right? Some guys, they walk through the office and it's chicken fingers and fries, as opposed to grilled chicken and broccoli, and all that stuff. And then we have training table in the evening hours, so again, we can kind of put a little more control on it. We do have a lot of chicken and a lot of pastas in the evening meals, so training tables pretty good benefit, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. It makes you there's not too much bad that you can eat. I mean, obviously, I wasn't grilled chicken and broccoli for 3 years, for sure.
Right.
But we have nutritionists come in every now and then, and kind of educate us, at least so know the decisions you're making, how it's going to affect you.
In this day and age, strength coach is also part nutritionist and part speed coach, and part yoga instructor and part mental, and obviously just like all coaches and teachers, part counselor and all those types of things. So Tuck's done a great job, and obviously as much as you can lead them to water, they got to do the work. You know what I mean? So Colin has done a phenomenal job, not only physically, but learning the system and being able to make the calls and getting everybody going in the right direction. And as we just talked about a second ago, we've had great balance in pass and run. We've seen multiple defenses, even fronts, odd fronts, and so on. And so Colin, just, we're real proud of you, and just continue to get the other four. Make sure when we're supposed to be going left, we're going left, and make sure we're supposed to be going right, we're going right. And, that's on his shoulders.
Well, Colin, congratulations on your maturation. Congratulations on earning that scholarship. I know you earned it because it's kind of the maturation you went through and you and Coach spoke about. You should feel quite proud, and keep up the great work, and best of luck Saturday against William & Mary.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more Talking Villanova football after this on 610 ESPN. back to Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. We're coming to you live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, no rest for the weary, as they say in this league. You guys head on the road again. 2 home games out of your first 6. You head down to William & Mary, down at Williamsburg, to take on the William & Mary Tribe, 2-3, coming off a hard-fought game up at Albany last week where they lose 39-31. So obviously they put some points up on the board. What's your impressions on the Tribe so far this year?
Yeah, they're good. New coach Mike London down there. Mike's a great coach. They're going to be well coached. We know that. Another CAA game. They're a little like us. We're playing some young guys. They're playing probably a few more young guys, and then they have a mix of some good upperclassmen. You know, they got a guy, defensive tackle Bill Murray, who's a really good player, all-league type performer, gave us all we could handle last year. They are real experienced in the secondary. They got guys that are, redshirt seniors, fifth-year guys, and four-year seniors. On offense, their starting quarterback is a freshman, dual threat guy. They have the leading kickoff returner. We talked about Ernest Edwards last week about he had 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns in one game against Colgate, and one of the premier returners in our league. Well, now they have a guy, Bronson Yoder, who looks like he's going to be one. He's a freshman, and he has 2 touchdowns on kickoff returns. He had one against Albany, so we got to make sure we do a good job. They always have a good kicker. One of their kickers kicked a 54-yard field goal in that Albany game. Their kickoff guy, 4 out of 5 were touchbacks, so they're good. They're good there, and they have a established defense, and like I said, freshman quarterback, dual threat guy, different than Ferguson. Ferguson's more of that pro style. Now you have 2 different kinds of quarterbacks that people talk about. The pro style guy, like the Roethlisbergers of the world, and then the dual threat guy who can run and pass. So their guy's a dual threat guy, so we're going to have to make sure you contain him. He's more like our guy Danny. He's more like Flacco. And that type of stuff. So Mike's going to do a great job. I'm sure he's trying to get things established. They're 2-3 on record, but 2 of their losses are against East Carolina and Virginia. So they played 2 FBS teams. So they're definitely up for the challenge. No matter you go into those FBS stadiums, they're not going to be worried about Villanova coming into theirs. Sure. They definitely have been tested, battle tested, and we just got to go. And like I said, it's another CA game. We got to go in and play a clean game. Hopefully, we can do what we did this past week. Minimize our penalties, don't have any turnovers, and keep Dan upright.
And you mentioned Mike London, who was the former coach at Richmond. They went on to UVA. I think we replaced Dave Clausen down at Richmond and won a national championship there as well. Right. So not a stranger to the CAA at all, even though he's in his first year at William, and not a stranger to the state of Virginia. So I think from their perspective, the recruiting base is probably a lot of relationships he may have with a lot of those coaches down there. And you went through it in your first year. There's going to be some transition, and I think they're kind of fighting their way through that. But as you mentioned, 2-3, but with 2 FBS losses, this is a quality team, and they've always seemed to play well at home.
No doubt. Yeah, they like the confines of their home, and just like we like ours. And, they do a good job. I think it's family weekend, so there's probably going to be a really nice crowd. It's a 3:30 game, kind of like our game was this past weekend, so they'll probably get good student activity as well. You have those early games. Sometimes the students aren't quite up and ready yet. You have a 3:30, 6 o'clock game, you get more support from the students. And, I just want to say that while I'm saying it now, I guess this past weekend we had another great crowd. We've only had 2 home games so far, and our family weekend crowd's always going to be a good crowd, but it looks like the students came out, and our guy from the football club, Joe Maycoit, had a huge tailgate out back. We walked through their Wildcat Walk, and great turnout back there. So the support that we've received so far in our first 2 home games has been phenomenal. Now I'm hoping some of the people will be willing to take that 5+ hour drive and follow the Cats down to Williamsburg, and it's going to be a great environment. It's going to be a great contest, and our guys got to be ready, because this is definitely a quality team. And Mike London has been at William & Mary before as an assistant a number of years ago, and he's definitely a great coach and a great guy, and Mike's doing a phenomenal job with the program down
Coach,
there.
we'll take one last quick break, and then I do want to talk about the atmosphere on campus Saturday and everything moving forward. So we'll be back with one more segment after this. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. Back with more of Talking Villanova Football after this on 610 ESPN. Talking Villanova football, head coach Mark Ferrante. We're live from the Inn at Villanova University, located at 601 County Line Road in Radnor. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite. More taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time. And, Coach, before we went to the break, you were talking a little bit about the atmosphere on campus, family weekend, the support that the students coming out. Talk a little bit, what does that mean to your group? You're 88 strong, and now if we can get 6,500 strong behind them in the student body, it's got to mean a lot to your team.
Right. Yeah. Someone asked us that. I had Malik Fisher with me after the game. He was in the press conference. And one of the guys asked that, how's it feel to play when you have a really nice crowd? And, the comment that they made was, it's awesome when you have that much support, and my comment was, who wouldn't want to play in front of a packed house, So it's been really good. The first 2 home games, the students have been coming out. Obviously, our home side's usually full, but now when you look across and the band and the dance and the cheer are over there, and, we have a lot of people also on the other side, following the program. And, it's been really good. It looks like both sides have been pretty crowded, pretty packed. And, now we have 2 road games and then our bye. So we're not coming back to the confines of our own stadium until homecoming
weekend, right? It's exactly for Stony Brook, I believe it is.
Stony Brook game, I think, for homecoming. But, the key is, and is always going to be, you've heard me say it before, what's our focus? And our players are doing a great job blocking out the noise and just taking one game at a time. So we're trying to get to 1-0 this week, and hopefully that's going to be down in Williamsburg.
Well, I'm really proud of the student body coming out. Your kids deserve it. They're putting all the effort in. They're representing Villanova in the highest light, and just proud to see that turnout and the support behind your group. And you and your staff have done a great job. And all you got to do is keep it going this Saturday down at William & Mary. So that's going to wrap it up for Talking Villanova football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Tonight's show is presented by Miller Lite, the original light beer brewed for more taste and only 96 calories. Miller Lite, hold true. I want to thank our hosts here at the Inn at Villanova University. Thanks to Joe Gaines and Ryan Lennox back in the studio. Tune in to 610 ESPN when Villanova takes on William & Mary. That's this Saturday, October 5th. Game time is 3:30. Pre-game begins at 3:15. Our next Talk in Villanova football will be next Tuesday, October 8th at 7 p.m. For Coach Mark Ferrante, this is Steve Pannone. Thanks for listening to 610 ESPN.